All right, feeling very studious. I still haven't got my contacts yet, so proper scientist has some glasses for this test. So we're gonna do all the ARs here today. I'm dreading doing the Karchers. I know lots of you are excited about doing the Karcher stuff, but the Karcher has some funky stuff going on. So we're gonna do the ARs first. I'm gonna try to knock these all out here quickly. We have the 15, 16, 17, 18, 18, 19, 2000, and 2050. Right, so we got 8 of them. I'm missing one of them, I just realized. So actually, technically, I'm missing 2 of them. I'm missing they have a little take-along thing, which is the same thing as the Go Nowhere from Sunjo. And then I'm missing a 142S, which is another one of these little stupid ones. So these, this is the same thing as the Sunjo. So these are clearly made in the same spot. Same hose, same quick release, same gun and wand, same everything, same footprint. They might have a little different connection on the side, but these are the same exact ones that are not very viable. I have to put the gauge on the outlet of the machine because this is a proprietary funky connection. It's quick release connection, which I'm sure wouldn't last very long. But in the interest of science, we're gonna do these all, even though I don't want to, and we'll get it done. You know, I'm working on, we're about done with the Ryobis, which means that the Greenworks will be really quick. So we're almost done with all the configurator and all of that stuff. So all of the accessories for all of this stuff will be live here, starting with the Greenworks, or starting with the Ryobi, then the Greenworks, then I guess the Sunjos and ARs, and then we'll get to the Karchers here. I've also figured out, so the post on the Sunjos and the ARs, the post on these on the outlet, so they supply you with this funky little plastic crappy fitting that can tend to leak, and we obviously want to change this out to metal. Sunjo has an adapter that they sell. It's like $10, but I figured out this is an SAE. This is an equal length FIP, similar to like a water heater hose. It's equal threads versus NPT, which is diminishing size threads. You know, the threads get closer together as it gets down the post. So now I just have to find an adapter that is a bit more stout than the crappy ones that Sunjo provides, and then I'll want to be able to source them so we can swap these out. But this is the same setup as the Sunjo stuff, where we have M22 15mm that's converted to 3/8, and we're leaking already. That then I have a 3/8 inch plug, and then a 3/8 inch coupler that's M22, then connect that to M22 14mm. That converts to 15mm, and then we're out to the hose. So this machine, you could put a new hose on, but you couldn't swap the gun unless you got a completely new hose. Also, no foam cannon on this unless you swap the hose and gun. All right, it's rated at 1500. We're getting 1300 PSI. So not terrible from this little machine. 3, 2, 1, go. So I've done this to all of these, where we start the stopwatch at 0, run it for a minute straight into the bucket, and we go do a quick calculation to get our GPM measurement. This is rated at 1.4 GPM. So pressure, 12.4 amps. This is rated at 12 amps, so this is already drawn 12.4. Okay, let's get our SPL. 64. Okay, let's go get our weight. 13.9. 1.45 GPM. That's pretty stout, man, for that little sucker. We'll have to go back and look what this little crappy Sunjos did, but now it did draw more current than the motor's rated, so that's probably not good for longevity. Right, so let's go swap out our gun, and as we've done with all these, I'm using a 50-foot hose. Now, it doesn't matter. So we're going from a 1/4 inch hose to a 3/8 inch hose. I've measured no difference on any of these, on any measure, doing a slightly bigger internal diameter hose. I also measured no difference between 25, 50, and 100 feet. So anything up to about 100 feet, we don't get any pressure or flow loss. So let's try a 2.5 nozzle. Wow, so that's 1,300 on a 2.5. And then, so let's try a 3. Yeah, that's good. 1,050. So we might even pick up a little bit of flow. Don't speak too soon about these little crappy ARs here. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, so we've reduced the restriction on the machine 10.8 amps down from 12.4. My guess is we're going to pick up a little bit of flow here too, a tiny bit anyway. Okay. Now, although the specs aren't too shabby on this, this is probably one of the lowest quality options we have from a quality of machine or quality of pump perspective. 15.2, 1.49 GPM. So we did pick up a tiny bit. So 1.49 GPM at 1,050 PSI. So let's do our foam cannon test with 1.1. Good to go. All right, check the amperage real fast. Yeah, that's good. 12.6 amps at a 1.1 orifice. So, I mean, we're technically exceeding the rated output of the motor on this electric, this electric pump. So, I mean, but a 1.25 isn't going to cut it. Now, with a stock gun, we were pulling 12.4 amps, so not anymore. So, again, I think if you bought something like this, you're probably going to get, it's probably going to be short-lived. I mean, they're working this little sucker hard at, getting 1,300 PSI and almost 1.5 gallons per minute. But pretty surprising specs out of this little hunk of crap. So, anyway, let's do the next one. All right, so this is the 111S. We just did the 112S. The numbers don't make any sense. The 142S is the one I'm missing. So anyway, the 112S we just did was rated at 1.4 GPM, 12 amp motor, and 1,500 PSI. The 111 is rated at 1.58 GPM, 1,600 PSI. Don't even ask me the prices on these things. They're listed for like $100 or something like that, but you can buy them anywhere from 120 down to $30 depending on where you find it. I think I got most of these on either Amazon or Home Depot. These are a little harder to get or harder to find than some of the others. But let's see what this thing does. All right, so this one's doing 1,200. Last one did 1,300. So they're just making, my guess is a little tweak in the motor. I don't know why they would rate this one higher. Interesting, I went back and looked at the SPX 1000, which is clearly the same machine as this, made in the same place, from Sunjo. The Sunjo did 1.37 GPM at, I forget what the pressure rating was on it. But it appears that the AR is driving these harder because they are drawing more amperage, more current. We're going to get a reading on this one here in a second. But we're getting 1,200 PSI out of this stock. Can't do a foam cannon on this stock setup, so you'd have to do an aftermarket gun. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, 11.6 amps. So we're drawing a little less current than we were on the 112S. That one was drawing 12.4. I mean, theoretically, if this is the same pump, we should be getting a little bit more flow because we got a little less pressure. That's why it may be rated at 1.58. Let's get our SPL rating. Same 64 and a half. So less water. Doesn't make any sense. 1.39 GPM. So it just appears that they're working this pump a little less. They're not working it as hard as the other one. But why would it get a better, bigger GPM rating, flow rating? Okay, let's run some wire. Put the same 3.0 on, see what happens. Same 1050. 15.1, 1.474, so 1.47 GPM. So we picked up a little bit. Let's do our foam cannon test. Okay, 1.1 millimeter orifice turned all the way up. Decent foam, 12.4 amps, identical to the other. So again, we're driving this really hard to use a 1.1 millimeter orifice, assuming this 12 amp spec on the motor is correct. But again, I think this is, you buy these things for like 50, 60 bucks and you just beat on it for a while. Still, you know, if you're gonna buy a new hose and everything and you need something to hold you over, it's probably not a bad option. I mean, you're getting the same flow as you're getting out of any Greenworks or any of the others in the 1.4 range. So it's kind of really cheap pump, but you're gonna need another couple $100 worth of stuff to make this thing work properly. I mean, we're using 430 bucks worth of stuff to get between the PF22, the Mosmatic, the Cobra Jet hose. But if you hid this 50 feet away, you know, you're not getting as good a cleaning power as you would from a higher end machine. But I mean, shoot, I mean, it's not the world's worst thing, I guess. Okay, this is the AR 240S. Clearly different enclosure, probably the same pump as the previous ones we just used. But now this one has the inlet and outlet on the front. A new funky proprietary connection on the hose. So again, no foam cannon with this one on the stock configuration. This gun is actually quite a bit cheaper than the other guns and the other ones. There's a lock out. But this one's rated at 1700 PSI, 1.4 GPM. All right, so this one has an actual pressure release valve on the front, which is kind of weird. So we'll turn it all the way up. Make that 1450. This pump sounds identical to all the others. All right, so this is the 13 amp rated motor that's drawing 14.1. So I think we're getting more out of these ARs. It seems like they're driving them a little bit harder than the Sunjos of similar design. Clearly coming from the same place. Let's do our SPL test. Nope, 64 dB. Yep, definitely less water. So you know, when you gain that extra pressure, we lose some flow. So 12.6, yeah, 1.18 GPM. So we lost quite a bit of flow on this machine over the little ones. And 3.0 nozzle gives us 900. So let's do 2.5. Yeah, that's 1200 PSI with a 2.5, but I think that's what we need to do. Because of the lower flow on this, we're gonna have to go a little higher pressure. 12.8 amps versus 14.1. So the orifice on the stock gun is quite a bit smaller. Foam cannon test, 1.1. Oh yeah. The foam is not quite as good. Probably hard to see on camera, but that lower flow makes it a little sloppier. 13 amps. 13.5. 1.28, so we gained a tenth. 1.28 GPM. Another one done. All right, this is the AR 383. So there's a 383, 383S, and 383SS. And the 383 looks a lot different than the others. And then it has one of these really stupid hose reels on here that you can't unwind because you have to detach the hose. It's like the dumbest thing in the world. Like, what would be the point of this stupid hose reel? I mean, it's clearly there for storage, but I mean, if you're not going to have a connection like a whip hose that connects the hose reel to the outlet of the pressure washer, then what the heck's the point? You end up with a tangled mess that you can't undo. It's like the dumbest thing ever. I saw in the OG Facebook group, there's been a run on Lowe's for Greenworks. I guess they're probably just not stocking them in the store anymore. It's probably dumb on their part because we're figuring out that Greenworks is the best solution. And now they're going to stop selling them in the store just in time for people to actually want them. At least our people anyway. I guess in the grand scheme of the world of Lowe's purchasers or Lowe's patrons, us OG people aren't very significant. This is like the dumbest thing ever. Like, tell me that thing isn't going to break in like a week. So these are all 15 millimeter fittings, as usual. All right, 1450. 3, 2, 1, go. Really, really cheap gun. Again, you're going to need to replace the hose on this. But the good news is on all the ARs, you can replace the hose. Unlike the stupid Joe, you know, the SPX 1500 on the Sun Joe, you can't replace the hose. You're stuck with whatever they give you. 13.6 amps. Okay, this is rated at 1.5 GPM, not 1.4. This one just feels different than the other ones. Seems like it's working less hard. 65. Yep. 1.33 GPM. It's very underwhelming there. 2.5 is giving me 1350. That's no good. Let's go back to our 3.0. That's giving us 1100. So 1100 PSI. GPM test. 11.6 amps. That's down from 13.6, so 2 amps less with this 3.0 nozzle on it. I mean, theoretically, if you're going to drive it like this with less current draw, it's probably a little less wear and tear on the motor. Okay. Do our dome cannon test. Good to go. 13.6 amps. We don't know what the motor's rated anyway, so I mean, this is like basically the SPX 3000. 15.5. Well, that's a pretty significant increase, so just by changing, yeah, 1.52. That's a pretty big jump. 1.52 GPM by changing the nozzle out. So that's, again, this is like, take your pick. Which one's cheaper? This would be like the SPX 3000 or 3001. All right, so this is the 383S. Another crappy hose reel. So with the 383 we just did, 383S. So this one's rated at 1800 PSI, where the 383 I think was 1700 PSI. This one's rated at 1.3 GPM, where the other one was rated at 1.5 GPM. So we're getting 1525, where the other one was 1450. So we're getting a little more pressure. Let's see if we get some less flow. So again, the specs on these are pretty much negligible. I think with all these, it's going to come down to which one do you get the cheapest. Which one has a sale on it on Amazon or wherever, or Home Depot. All right, so it's a 13 amp rated machine, but getting drawing 14.3 with the stock setup. Okay, let's get our SPL. 67. It's a little louder than the others. Yikes. 1.19 GPM. So a 1/10 short than what's spec'd. So this is a 3.0. We're getting 975. I think that's gonna be it, because this is probably gonna jump too high. I do the 2.5 on this. This is 1200 at 2.5. 12.8 amps down from 14.3. Foam cannon. $13 amps. Good to go there. 13.7. 1.31 GPM. We're leaking out of that one too. Did I not tighten these? I think this is the one I was just test fitting, you freaking idiot. Oh well, we can get a reading on it and fix it in a minute. All right, 1525. I think this one's rated at 1.4 GPM. This is the 383 SS rated at 1900. So we're getting, what did I just say, 1525. But this has SS, so the stainless little bit in the wand here, and then has a different actually usable wand. I've got to put some quick disconnects on here. So this machine, if you wanted to use the stock setup and didn't want to have to buy a new hose and stuff, this would be the most practical. This can accept the foam cannon. You could get a 40-degree nozzle and put it in here. So this actual gun isn't as bad. It's also not as long. So this is probably the most viable machine of the ARs if you wanted to use it right out of the box. Drawing 13.8 amps. It's rated a 13 amp motor. The hose reel, of course, is useless. This is probably the best gun and wand of any of these pressure washers. I think a couple of the Greenworks have a very similar setup. And then the interesting thing, the inlet is 15 millimeter, but I think the outlet of this is 14 millimeter. So we'll figure all that out when we get our specs set up for the website. Let's get our SPL rating. 69. Before is 1.21 GPM. Very similar to the Sunjo SPX 3000. Difference is the hose reel on the SPX 3000, or I'm sorry, 3001 on the Sunjo is useful. This one is useless. I think we want a 3.0. That was almost 1300 PSI. Yeah, 1000, perfect. 11.3 amps, down from 13.8. Foam cannon test. Even, good to go. Gained a lot of GPMs there. 1.46. Ooh, 17 hundo. This is the 390 SS, quite a bit bigger than the last one, the other one. It has a little soap dispenser thinger knob on this one that it didn't have on the others. Has the same upgradable stainless wand setup. So this is the quick disconnect that you would put on, that I've forgotten to put on the 383 SS. Only comes with a 25 and a 0-degree nozzle and a soap dispenser. But let's see. So what did I just say? 1700 PSI. So let's see if we sacrifice our flow for that, which we probably do. This one's rated at, I guess 14 amps. Rated at 1.4 GPM. So only 300 PSI short. It's drawing 14.3 amps right now. SPL. 72. 12. 1.1. That's junk. Let's see if we can open that up a bit. So, I'm doing my little extension piece here on this one. Didn't watch the Sunjo series. This is a M22 15 millimeter to plug that I put together. And then this will allow me to just connect to my 50-foot hose. Or I guess if you were smart, you would get a 25-foot Cobra Jet hose to extend it. My guess is if you took this apart, there's probably a 15 millimeter outlet somewhere in here, somewhere behind this piece. So I might have to take this apart later and see if we can adapt it. All right, we're gonna need a 2.5 on this one for sure, I think. This only did 1.1 GPM. Yeah, and we get 1200 PSI. 3, 2, 1, go. 11.9 amps. Down from 14.3 with a 2.5 nozzle. Foam cannon. It's interesting, these lower flow ones, you can even just hear it and you feel it. It has a hard time pushing the water through the foam cannon. 12.1 amps is what it's drawing. Yeah, this is not a really good one. I mean, it's nice that the hose reel actually works, but again, I think you're gonna wanna pull the hose reel off. So the extra expense of the 390, I think I'd take the 383 over this for sure. All right, let's check our GPM with our 2.5 on it. We've certainly gained some, but did we gain enough to matter? 1.28, so we gained a tenth, 1.28 GPM. All right, so this one would be, I guess, a competitor to, say, the SPX 4000. Like that fact there's no hose reel, but this one easily comes off of the cart. The cart is actually kind of nice, sort of nice. 2050 max PSI and 1.4 GPM. Comes with regular nozzles, but of course these nozzles don't really work all that well. At least they're not rated. So these are probably really small orifice size. All right, so we're getting 1625. Same crappy hose as the others, but this one has its own gun, new gun, versus the others. This one I think retails for like 250 bucks or something crazy, but I'm sure you can get it for a lot less. Drawing 14.3 amps. It's rated at 16.67. That's the motor rating. SPL 69.5. 12.0. 1.1. That stinks. So we're definitely going to need a 2.5 on this sucker. I think. Maybe not. 3.0. Yeah, that's 900 or 910-ish. 2.5. 1200. This one's got a extra barf sound. Not gonna do it. Not gonna make the sound. 3, 2, 1, go. 11.8 amps. That seemed like an extra long minute of my life gone right there. Someone was telling me I should do this for 5 minutes. I'd freaking kill their whole family instead of do that. It would be like the end of my existence. Yeah, not so great. 12 amps. That stinks because this one, I mean, this one is kind of the nicest looking one out of all of them, and wall mountable and multi-purpose, but man, we got nothing out of this sucker. We're gonna get like 1.2 GPM, so it doesn't foam as well either. Yeah, that's no good. 1.27. Not so great. Briggs & Stratton bonus footage. All right, that's a new sound, but hey, at least it turns off. So this is supposedly brushless, 3.5 GPM, 2000 PSI. Ah, crap. I need the gauge. All right, so rated at 2000, but it's rated at 3.5 GPM at 80 PSI. So it's doing 1350. Not quite what they rated. Let's see if we switch. It's got this big microphone on the end here. And it's got a lock that you've got to press every time. That's super annoying. Yeah, no pressure difference if you change the thing. 3, 2, 1. Ha! Here, start this.
3, 2, 1.
There is zero chance this is even like, this is gonna be like 1.1 GPM. What a joke. It's quiet though. 12.9 amps, relatively quiet, kind of instant on. It has a little bit of a ramp up time. This bucket should be at 3/4 full. Something tells me that ain't happening. But it's got Power Flow Plus technology. That should make it great.
Stop.
Boom. Oh yeah, but this is supposedly a brushless that has the same puke sound as the others, so magically. Oh gosh. So what did it just do? What did I say the PSI was? 1300? This isn't even worth writing down. Look at this crap. This is gonna be like 1.16 GPM. 12.7 minus 2.8 divided by 8.34, 1.19. It rated 3.5. What a frickin' joke. Let me go punt this thing. Okay, ARs are done, and I've been much less eloquent, but on the good side, a lot less complaining this time around. As you can tell, I'm about done with this project, because it's not even about making the videos. It's about all of the work behind the scenes that Bryce and I are doing to build out the structure of how this is going to work, and just constant thought about how can I make this efficient where it's not confusing, because there's all these different fittings, and I know that some people are going to want different variants, and we're working on a configurator, and so what prefab solutions do I offer versus configurable options, and again, trying to keep this so that it's not so darn confusing you can't figure it out. But anyway, the ARs, I don't know, I mean, I guess out of these, the 383 SS, one of these here, I think this one right here, if you're going to want to keep the gun, so if you want to keep costs down and just buy this and then just get some quick disconnects to make it work, I think that the 383 SS is probably the best option. If you're willing to make changes to the hose and all of that, even some of these little ones, the little ones actually flowed quite a bit more than the bigger machines that had more pressure. Of course, we don't need a lot of pressure, we want flow. But they're all pretty similar, all pretty inexpensive. The one that was really disappointing is the one on the end, that I guess the 2050, the 2050 one. I thought that would be viable to mount on the wall and maybe use as a custom install type solution, but the SPX 4000 I think is much better for that. They all have hose reels that you're probably going to remove. So if you're stuck with an AR, or I think that we can make them work, and I'll have, of course, in the Obsessed Garage store, we'll have a section for AR Blue Clean pressure washers to be able to build out whatever version of gun, wand, foam cannon you want. And of course, I'll publish all the specs on them once I'm done with this project. But anyway, ARs are done. Next up are Karchers, and we'll start selling these off. All of these are going to be on I'm going to move them to Facebook Marketplace. So it's facebook.com/groups/OG Marketplace is where these are all going to be sold off with the appropriate accessories. So anyway, thanks for watching this one, and stay tuned. Karchers will be next. Stay tuned for more crazy. I can't wait to get these out of my garage. It's going to be awesome to get these out of here. Thanks for watching. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, to the floor.